Hi there, greetings, salutations. Did I have this raised up enough, Derek?
You don't seem excited.
What are you talking about?
You don't seem to be the proper amount of excited. I am excited every time I get to do this show.
Okay.
When I wake up in the morning, I'm excited. Start a day.
Okay, do you want to just do this all over?
Yeah, let's try that again. You just didn't seem excited enough.
You count me.
Here we
down.
go. 3, 2.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jake Query, and that's Derek Schultz. And this is Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network, proudly presented, at least I'd like to hope so now that I'm enthusiastic, by Bailey and Wood, who just got done, by the way, having a fabulous golf outing, raising a ton of money for different groups. As a matter of fact, one of the cool parts about the golf outing that Bailey and Wood had down at Dyes Walk on the south side of Indianapolis was they had the different charities come up so you could see all the people that were benefiting from it, and it was awesome. Awesome day.
It was great. It's always an awesome day. This was our 3rd year out there.
I think that's right.
I believe with them, and got to do some announcements from the tee box.
They have a new mascot.
Send the golfers on their way. Yeah.
Homer
the house. He's a orange house with arms and legs.
Why weren't you Homer?
I know I should have
You
been.
fit the suit perfectly.
Mike didn't want to divulge who the mascot was going to be. It was top secret in the Bailey and Wood offices.
Well,
so Mike was the only one that knew. Even like Chad, Bailey, like even the people that are the hires up over there at Bailey and Wood had no idea that Homer was going to be unveiled. It was the big surprise.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a great mascot.
Yeah.
Very similar to Hoosy the Hoosier, the idea that I had, but I'll let Mike and the team
Was
have
it Hoosy the Hoosier or Hootie the Hoosier?
Hoosy the Hoosier. Hoosy like Hoosier. Hoosy the Hoosier, and he was a giant state of Indiana with arms and legs.
That's ridiculous, though.
That's amazing. It was the best idea for a mascot ever. This was 20 years ago. I was a student at IU, and they said, hey, we're looking. It was when they turned everything back to cream and crimson and made it all uniform, so they got rid of the oval, Antoine Randall era, IU, and all of that. And they were briefly looking for a new mascot, and I submitted it, and then I never heard anything back. And obviously Indiana still doesn't have a mascot.
So the Hoosy the Hoosier, though, where would you have looked through?
What do you mean?
Well, if you're in the outfit.
Oh, you have like mesh eyes? Like
so the mesh eyes would have been around where?
Lafayette and the I don't know what northeast would be. Fort Wayne? Not that far.
Upland?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, how wide are your eyes? Like,
well, I also was worried because I wore the
wouldn't you just
outfit
be looking through one thing?
And something else that I was worried about.
You have an eye in Lafayette and an eye in Upland. Like, what are you, like a mutant?
So
I'd just be one little area,
okay.
like right there, like around Tipton, right?
We have a lot of things to get to, so I'll keep this short.
Like Peru?
One of the issues was I actually built the outfit, and I wore it for Halloween one year. The problem is we were at a party, and you pay the money for the cup or whatever, and you're drinking from the cup, and then you realize I have to go to the bathroom. And what a lot of people were pointing out is the fact that when I had the suit on, so I've got the eyes up here, and then Indianapolis is right here, Bloomington is kind of right in that region. And so people are like, oh, where's Bloomington? And it's where, where the business gets done. So that was the problem with the suit. I didn't really think of that like atomically and anatomically.
I'd like to recap.
If that's the right word.
If we may, I'd like to recap the first minute or so of this program. We were very fortunate to be able to partake in a lovely golf outing and charity fundraiser from Bailey and Wood.
Great cause.
And Mike Wood, who is not only knows everybody and is kind of the mayor of the south side of Indianapolis, but also a very philanthropic, charitable guy, made sure the money went to several different charities, including organizations for his daughter, sang the national anthem along with the show choir, and kids that are partaking in those sort of extracurriculars are those that benefited, for example, for the charity. And during that, they unveiled a mascot. Now, that has segued in Derek's mind to reliving and pondering why his mascot submission was not selected by Indiana University when they were looking for a mascot that clearly they never fulfilled. Probably because the only submission they got was a guy who actually wanted his junk to be in Bloomington.
It just happened to be in Bloomington. It's not what I wanted necessarily. It just happened to be.
Well, that's like the worst planning ever.
Actually, when I was in the suit, it extended all the way down to New Albany.
I'm sure it did.
I'm
sure
if you know what I mean. But
yeah, okay.
Let's talk some Colts.
Okay.
You ready to talk Colts?
Sure.
Head coach Shane Steichen said on Sunday that Jonathan Taylor, as the world turns with Jonathan Taylor, should be back this week. Final days for the Colts in Westfield. They break camp on Thursday with a night practice, and then, of course, they have their lone home preseason game coming up here on Saturday. I watched the preseason opener after the fact. We had stuff just happening all weekend this weekend. This was the last weekend before my son just started first grade today. So there was a lot going on for us this weekend, and I blasted through just the ones. I didn't really care. Hey, the backup offensive line looks terrible. Guess what, guys? Every single backup offensive line in the league looks terrible.
Right.
Okay, so who cares? I think the Richardson performance, you can paint it whatever way you want. If you are looking positives, you could say that he looked poised. In fact, I saw that word used a couple of times. If you're reaching for negatives, you could say that he struggled because of the box score. I mean, either of those things have proof. I think what I would say was Richardson's performance was okay to pretty good. I think
he threw
it
a bad pick.
Shaded towards pretty good.
I would agree with that. I mean, he threw a bad pick, but
I think McKenzie, didn't we find out that McKenzie ran the wrong route?
I think that's entirely possible because it looked like, I mean, it did look like where is he going with that?
But Richardson should have eaten the ball, and he chose not to. So in that instance, yes, it was on him too.
His completion percentage was not great, but again, who knows how much you read into that?
Pierce had a big drop.
He did. Their big time signing free agent kicker missed a 26-yarder.
Yeah, it can't happen. Even in the preseason, that can't happen.
But Derek, I hesitate to get overly analytical about a quarterback performance because, I mentioned this earlier. I recall sitting in the RCA Dome press box, and the Colts were playing the San Diego Chargers in 1998, and I remember watching Ryan Leaf spike the ball in the end zone after I think it might have been a quarterback sneak or a 2-yard run for a touchdown, and everyone in the press box is saying they took the wrong guy. The Colts took the wrong guy. This guy's killing it. This Ryan Leaf is all over the place. Well, I mean, we know what happened there, right? Mm-hmm. So you just never know. I mean, there have been times where quarterbacks have looked just dazzling in the preseason, regular season rolls around, and it's a juggernaut that hits them. Aiden O'Connell looked fantastic for the Raiders, right? But again, you're going against a lot of guys that are going to be playing in Frankfurt, Germany next year.
You're right.
Who knows?
Stroud
and
struggled.
Not in the NFL game.
Young struggled. So a lot of the other rookies struggled as well, and you don't know how much to take into it. For O'Connell, and not to get too off track, I will say, he played a lion's share of the snaps, so he was competing at some point against ones and twos. And
what does lion's share mean?
Guys that are going to make it. The lion is the king of the jungle,
right.
so
he gets
the share of the zebra mostly goes to him. The vultures pick apart a little bit. The jackals come by and get a little bit more.
What about the female lion?
The lion's share of it, well, lions plural. Female and male lion.
So then there's jackals.
Yeah.
And then there's
hyenas.
Okay.
What are the not wallabies? What are the ones in Australia that are really aggressive? Dingoes. Are lions in Australia?
No.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure Australia has a little bit of everything. I'm pretty sure they've got a couple of lions.
How would lions have gotten to Australia?
I just think
from Africa. How does a lion get to Australia?
The Colts preseason
boat.
It's become
not taking a plane.
Even less relevant to me because of what's happening with Taylor.
If a lion took a plane from Australia or from Africa to Australia, do you know where they would sit?
Hurry up and get to it because this is the last thing that I'm going to entertain for this.
Main cabin.
Okay, great. Okay. I'm so focused on the situation with Jonathan Taylor, and I'm so focused on Anthony Richardson that I'm really not focused on anything else. In a normal preseason, I might watch Josh Downs for a couple of reps, right? Or I might watch Isaiah McKenzie.
Did you say watch or wash?
The tight ends or the cornerbacks because that's a big position battle. I've just been kind of, and this is just me personally, I've just been kind of laser focused on those two things, Richardson and what's going to happen with Taylor. The rest of this stuff just doesn't even feel relevant to me. I was glad to see Richardson out there. I was glad to see him get some reps because I think even in the preseason, it helps to have reps and have experience. and know that you could get hit if things go wrong, which is a threat that you don't face in training camp.
I didn't know there's lions in Europe.
Yeah, there are lions all over the globe. There's one in Indianapolis.
They're in Europe, but it's not much of like Spain. I don't think that's right.
We're always in danger
not
with
Spain and Italy.
A once-a-week show as opposed to a daily show of saying something that ends up being time-sensitive.
There's a little bit the outer rim of Saudi Arabia looks like there's some lions.
I wanted to ask you what ultimately you think is going to happen with the Jonathan Taylor situation. Is he going to, in the scope of this week, does Jonathan Taylor come back in Westfield this week?
Yes. Does he practice? I don't know, but I'll bet he's back. Here's to me what's fascinating about this Taylor situation. Jonathan Taylor had surgery on his ankle at the end of last year. 6-week injury, we were told. He shows up for whatever reason. He had a falling out with management and ownership of the Colts. He doesn't want to play here anymore. So he shows up at camp and he says, oh, by the way, during his physical, my back hurts. I tweaked it during workouts in Arizona and my back hurts. He starts out on the physically unable to perform list. Everybody assumes it's because of the ankle. Then we find out he's unhappy. Then the assumption becomes, was he put on PUP because he was unhappy and they don't want him like burning people out? Oh, wait a minute. The Colts then say, you know what? You're unhappy and you're threatening to like hold out and kind of be difficult here. That's cool. But you mentioned to us in your physical, which you failed, that your back hurts. And you said it's because you worked out away from the team in Arizona. That means that you constitute what is known as the non-football injury list. And if we put you on that, guess what? We're going to keep your paycheck. Jonathan Taylor says, oh, no, I didn't say that about my back. My back's fine. Feeling good. Yet when he's out there practice walking around, it looks like he's walking with a stiff back. But I can't say that for certain because, truthfully, I never really paid attention before to what he looked like when he walked. Maybe he's walked like this all the time. I can't say that for certain. But one would assume that the injury is not strictly the ankle. One would also assume that perhaps the injury is a smoke
isn't the ankle at all, right?
Or that there is no injury, and this is all about him being unhappy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me,
he has a bruised ego. That's Jonathan Taylor is on the physically unable to perform list with a bruised ego.
The three most plausible scenarios would be either he has an ankle issue that hasn't fully healed, either he has a back issue that is maybe on top of the ankle issue, or there's no ankle issue and it's just the back issue by itself, or he's perfectly fine. And to me, of those three, the one that is least likely is just the ankle. Right. Knowing what we know about the injury. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense to me. The ankle was never mentioned in minicamp or anything like that. It wasn't. It was not viewed as a big deal until it became magically a big deal. And for Jonathan Taylor, he has barely any leverage, so whatever leverage you have, go ahead and take it. If that's what you want to do, he's his own man. This is how he's going to conduct his business. He thinks this is the best path for him forward in his future. God bless him. I'll let him make that distinction. But I'm also not going to sit there and buy everything that the Colts and Taylor's camp are telling us about what's going on. I'm just not. Right. We've been through this rodeo before, certainly here in Indianapolis.
You know, here's the thing, though. Did you see anything in the preseason game against Buffalo that led you to believe they've got to get him out there now? He's only out there for one reason, and that's to help the development of Anthony Richardson. That's it.
From the preseason, I didn't see anything because my stance has not changed, that Jonathan Taylor is a important piece, and you'd like to have him back. I think the disconnect for me is
he's an important piece if you're trying to win games, right?
When people say he's essential, I don't agree with essential because I don't think any running back is essential anymore.
Derek, he is an important piece for them to win games. Are they trying to win games? Do they care about winning games?
I think you care about...
The Colts season is like Pee Wee football. They ain't even keeping records.
The development of Richardson. Yes, you're right. Me personally, I don't care about records. If the Colts go 4-13, whatever. If they go 7 and... See, I got to think about it because it's 17 games. 7-10, whatever. What I want to see is...
He's a great talent.
Improvement from Richardson.
He's a great player, Jonathan Taylor. And I feel bad for him because the timing didn't work out. He came into the league... He thought he was going to have Carson Wentz or like some other quarterback that was going to be blossoming and hitting the stride right when he is. And then it turns out that Chris Ballard just kind of did a mismatch in assembling a roster, and they took their flyer on a couple of different veteran quarterbacks that didn't work out. So they are starting over from scratch right as he is beginning to enter his prime. I don't blame Jonathan Taylor one iota for being like, look, I want to play somewhere else. But the way he's gone about it, maybe not so strongly advised, but I totally get it. If you're Jonathan Taylor, you're saying like, look, I want to go to Detroit. I want to go to Buffalo. I want to go to some team that's on the cusp right now and is able to and is ready to move in. And I'm going to start on that with that push.
I think that's part of it, but at the end of the day, this is business. If the Colts were contending right now, Jonathan Taylor would still be doing this. I'm 100% convinced because he wants to get paid.
No, you're right. That's fair.
He wants to get paid, and that's what these running backs want.
But what I'm saying to you, Derek, is this: if the Colts were contending right now, they pay him. If the Colts were contending right now, they say, we want this guy because that's the piece we need to get us over the top.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, they're saying we don't need this guy because we ain't trying to contend.
I'm more convinced that they would feel more urgency in paying him and making him happy and getting him out there and contending if they were contending. I agree. But I do think that, this is also a business play for the Colts. He's coming off an injury, right? He's in the final year of his contract. It's not like the other situations with Jacobs or with Barkley where, they have the tag available for them.
Barkley set back the market value.
He did.
Because Barkley's the best running back out there, and he said, all right, fine.
And people view them as peers, I think. People view Taylor on that level with Barkley.
Alec Pierce, he had a big drop.
Peers. I said it correctly. Okay. I know you bust my chops about it, but we could roll back the tape on that. I said it correctly. This has nothing to do with football.
Okay.
Actually, who am I kidding? Hoagies and Hops and delicious Sandos always have something to do with football, right? Get your catering at hoagiesandhops.com. You can just walk in at 42nd and Boulevard right there on the edge of Midtown and see Christina or maybe Donnie is in there or any one of their capable crew and get Indy's best sandwich. What I have here is the Keystone. So it's their take on roast beef. So roast beef, horsey mayo, lettuce, tomato, shaved onion, provolone. Horsey mayo is very good. I know you don't like mayo, so I didn't put mayo on Jake's. I normally am not a big mayo guy. Big horsey mayo guy.
Really?
Stock up on horsey mayo. Something else that ended up happening this weekend that, besides the Colts preseason game, that was a long time coming and was great to see was Gene Keady's Hall of Fame induction into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Quick point of emphasis, and I hope that we can do this. I hope everybody is listening at home. The Baseball Hall of Fame is not the MLB Hall of Fame. It is the Baseball Hall of Fame. The Basketball Hall of Fame is not the NBA Hall of Fame. It is the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. The Football Hall of Fame is not the NFL Hall of Fame. It is the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Just want to make sure I get that out there. I don't have a lot of pet peeves. Like, you're much more anal about stuff like that than I am.
Really?
But it drives me crazy. When I see NFL Hall of Fame, it drives me up the wall. I don't know why. I don't know why I should get upset about that. But anyway, Gene Keady's been such a legend here and such a respected and widely beloved figure, even for IU fans like Gene Keady, that I don't feel like the Hall of Fame was necessarily needed for people in Indiana to validate him as a figure.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there have been guys that I think have needed that validation. In a way, I think it would be beneficial for somebody like Reggie Wayne or somebody like Robert Mathis to get that validation. But for Keady, I don't know if he needed it legacy-wise. A wonderful man. He became the face of Purdue athletics. I would argue he still is the face of Purdue athletics.
Agree with that.
And it was great. I mean, whenever you're mentioning Purdue, you think about Coach Keady, and it was cool to see all of his former players applaud him. I was actually bummed the basketball team was 5,000 miles away on the other side of the world,
right?
And not able to kind of be there or take it in.
Derek, it's a great accomplishment for a guy that was truly, if you look at his coaching record in the Big Ten, he was as dominant in the Big Ten and as competitive in the Big Ten as any coach during the vast majority of his career. Yes, I know he didn't get to a Final Four. He is clearly probably the most accomplished coach, maybe along with John Chaney, to not get to that benchmark or what is deemed as a benchmark. But, it is true that he often took players that were not as mainline recruits as other schools, got them to play extremely well together, play unbelievably hard defensively, And he is a coach that I think probably was the most respected and feared amongst his peers as any in terms of knowing what you had to go against when you were playing Purdue's teams. And he has been a loyal backer of Purdue ever since. Obviously, Matt Painter being there has a lot to do with that. He looked a lot like Purdue Pete for a number of years, but I find it kind of coincidental is maybe the wrong word. I definitely interesting that Derek gets a job in the marketing department with Purdue University, and then quickly they changed Purdue Pete's look. He got a makeover.
I had nothing to do with that. They didn't consult me on that.
But he's like friendlier looking.
Oh, yeah. I'm super glad about it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not consulted.
Do we have the new Purdue Pete image, by the way?
I don't think we do, but maybe we can dig that up maybe for next week.
A compare and contrast?
It's not the mascot himself. It's just the cartoon version of him has changed. Where it used to be, I think he was frowning, right? And he had the kind of the hammer in his hand, like the cartoon
right.
Purdue Pete. And now it's a little more like, hey, kids, I'm not a real person who had my face melted off in a boiler accident like my cousin Joe told me when I was 7 years old. Not a real thing.
That's what he told you?
Yeah. My cousin told me when I was 7 that Purdue Pete was a real person who had a horrific boiler explosion accident and has no face. So they put the hard plastic face over his face.
Right.
So he can't talk or communicate, only use his limbs and all of that.
And his sledgehammer.
Yeah, and a sledgehammer.
Okay. It is a cool mascot.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be scared bleepless for a mascot, then absolutely he's cool. But remember, they tried to change Purdue Pete, the mascot, like around the end of the Tiller, early Danny Hope era. I want to say like 08, 09. And they trotted him out for the spring game, and it was like almost like a Cabbage Patch doll looking Purdue Pete. And
really?
Purdue fans went ballistic, and they changed him immediately. And he never saw the light of day again.
Really?
Yep.
I don't remember this. Do we have a picture of that?
No, we don't. We can't get pictures on the fly.
Let me look this up.
Look up Cabbage Patch Purdue Pete. And I think the other change for him was that he had a silver helmet on instead of like because he wears a black or gold helmet normally. Because silver obviously isn't in the Purdue color repertoire. But something else that I wanted to mention while we're talking to our friends at Hoagies and Hops here.
Cabbage Patch Purdue Pete actually comes up. Oh, yeah.
I told you it would. It is the 7th annual Hoagie eating contest benefiting Hoosier veterans. It comes your way on September 16th. $25 registration fee. Now, this is not the sando that you'll be eating. You'll be eating the Hog Island. But I did it last year.
Derek,
registration is underway. $25, great cause, and you get a free sando.
Darren King's in on it. Sandwich.
Greg Poley was there last year, too.
Okay.
And I actually beat both of them in the sandwich eating contest. I did.
Way.
Totally did.
No way.
You know me, Jake. I can, inhale food. Also, want to give a shout-out to our friends at Chili Water Brewing Company. 42nd and Boulevard is where the tap room is. Also, they've got their main digs in Fountain Square. And I just thought, I was going through the beer fridge. I have a beer fridge, which is actually kind of a sad beer fridge because I'm not – it's not full like it was when I was in my 20s anymore. But I was like, hey, wait a minute. I still have, from a couple of weeks ago, a few 500 miles high.
Perfect.
So it's Brickyard weekend. We're about to talk about the Brickyard, so I thought, why not break it out?
That's 400 miles, granted.
So, light American lager. Yeah, that's right. 500 and or 400, or I guess Verizon 200 miles high, if we're talking about the cup race. It's a great lager. It's a great track beer over there at Chili Water Tap Room, and they've got some great new releases as well, and we're going to have a couple of those. I think the Santeria we're going to do next week.
Santeria?
Yeah, like the Sublime song. Really, really good. Excited about those. But Chili Water Brewing, great partners of ours, along with Hoagies and Hops. So you grab
Perfectly
the Sando,
light, by the
you
way.
grab the beer, eat them together, 42nd and Boulevard.
Perfect combo.
HoagiesandHops.com as well for your catering needs. We come back. That's where we're going to be talking. Checkered flag right here. Verizon 200, the Brickyard, and where the race goes from here. They keep changing it around. Are they going to change it again? We'll discuss. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back to Keady and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. Bailey and Wood are presenting sponsors.
You just said to me, take it back, and then you just jumped right in there.
I didn't say take it back.
Yeah, you did.
You asked me if I had a phone number for somebody that you needed to contact, and I said, I think I have it. That's what I said. Do you think I was saying I'm going to take it?
I think that person, by the way, I think likes me more than you. I think most people we deal with would rather deal with you than me. I think this person would rather deal with me than you.
I think this person that we're speaking of, and this is like real cryptic because no one has any idea what we're talking about, whether you're listening on the podcast or at home. I think this person is one of the friendlier people that we deal with.
Agreed.
So she doesn't want to tell you that she actually doesn't like dealing with you, but she's so friendly that she just decides, hey,
I disagree.
That's how we're going to
disagree.
Mm-hmm. Not everyone finds you awesome and charming. I know that's hard for you to believe. Not everyone feels that way about you. And there's something that happened last week that makes Jake think he's even more awesome and more charming, which we're going to talk about coming up later on in the show. But like, there are some people that are just kind of like I read the comment section, and I know there's some people that are like, ugh. There was one guy that actually brought up a name in the comment section.
Oh, really? You read through the comments? I don't read the comments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you did. You replied to a couple of them.
I did?
Yeah, on Facebook.
Oh, okay. Facebook, yeah. I thought you were talking about the Star.
Oh, no. I don't know if they do the actual online comment section anymore. I think most sites have gotten rid of those, which is probably a good idea. Jake was at the track all weekend. I wasn't able to get out there. We were just packed up.
It's not Facebook, it's Meta.
Okay, whatever it is. That's just the parent company. Facebook is still Facebook.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cup race Verizon 200 at the Brickyard won by Michael McDowell. How about this? You get 2 wins, and you can pick any tracks to win at.
Unbelievable.
And you get to choose Daytona and Indianapolis. He dominated the race, led 52 of 48 laps. There was nearly a 2-hour green flag run. It was a very quick race. In fact, it was the longest green flag run of consecutive laps in NASCAR since 2016.
Really?
Now, part of that is the fact that they run 85% of the schedule is ovals, right? So road courses, you have less chances for incidents and all that. I don't know if I necessarily buy this, but IMS claims that the attendance was up 10K year over year, 130,000 fans over the weekend. What I will say in IMS's defense, and it's impossible to know, right, the exact number, I do think that at least we've seen attendance bottom out. It's not going to get lower because I think pretty consistently we've had the same crowd out there for the last 3 or 4 years, wouldn't you say? COVID aside, obviously.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that the road course, when they first did it, you had like the intrigue. You know, when Xfinity cars in particular did it, and people were like, whoa, like it's really good for Xfinity cars. You had the intrigue of it, and things ticked up a little bit, and now it looks like it's going to go back to the oval. I don't think it's going to be the doubleheader weekend with IndyCar. All signs seem to point towards IndyCar going away and using that spot in the schedule to do a race in Milwaukee. Derek, I don't know. I mean, I had this conversation with Greg. I had this conversation with a couple of people in the media locally, and I said, which has had the bigger transformation in terms of the coverage, the relevance, the awareness, all told, in the last 25 years in this town? The NASCAR at the Speedway or the NFL Combine? And one guy said it best. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, so I won't say any names. But one guy said it best. He goes, "Man, the Combine went from being grabbing a few sound bites in the lobby of the Omni Severin and mentioning that it's in town to a national, massive convention event. And the Brickyard went from being Dodge drivers on the circle and the Ford Fan Fest at the Dome and events every night of the week and 270,000 people out there to rolling in and very few people outside of the diehards even really knowing it took place."
Yeah.
I think the people that go out there enjoy it. I think any day that you spend at the Speedway is a good one, for sure. But I think that the challenge now is just how do you come up with, the Indy 500, Derek, the thing about the Indy 500 I think that is so magical that I've always said is you wonder every year what you're going to see that we're going to talk about for 20 years or what you're going to see that we've never seen before. A guy like it's so fitting that Alexander Rossi won the 100th running of the Indy 500 in a fashion that nobody had ever seen before. By running out of fuel and just staying out there and letting everybody else have to go in and pit and just staying out and refusing to 99 times before, that had really never been seen, right? And that's what makes the Indy 500 so unique. And for the Brickyard or for the NASCAR or the Verizon 200, but for the Cup cars on that track, I think people feel like they've seen everything.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge.
And you're always thinking about, you talk about something that you're going to talk about for a long time. You're always thinking about what the race experience was in 1998 compared to 2018. You're always kind of reaching for what it used to be. To a much lesser extent, it's kind of like what's happened to the Indiana-Kentucky All-Stars, where most of the conversation is about what the event used to be,
right, compared
to kind of accepting what it is. I think really two things that they need to do to get the ball rolling, and we're never going to get back. Look, we're never going to get back to 100,000, much less 250,000 out there for this weekend. Two things that they have to do. Pick a date, pick a track. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you run this on April 10th. Pick a date, and if it's going to be the oval, it's the oval. If it's going to be the road course, it's the road course. Stop jerking it around. I do think that part of the reason, now this is not the biggest factor, it might not even be one of the three factors, part of the reason that the Brickyard has kind of gone like this over the years is because, oh my God, it was like Labor Day weekend, then it was 4th of July, then it was like September 14th, then it was July, then it was August, and it's like, oh my God, like, pick one.
Right.
Like, Indianapolis is a prestigious track. Like, this shouldn't be a race on the NASCAR schedule that just keeps getting jerked around. So pick a date so people can at least plan around it and people can remember, oh yeah, it's Brickyard weekend. And you're just not doing that with that event. I'm sad that if IndyCar goes away, because I think that has helped them stabilize this by making it a doubleheader weekend, because I think you have the Darren Kings of the world that are mostly out there for IndyCar, but they're coming back because they love the speedway and they love stock cars as well. So if that goes away, I worry about it a little bit, but I do think for NASCAR, things are trending up across the board, really for auto racing in general, with eyeballs and popularity. So I think there's some hope for the first time in a long time that maybe things could actually uptick a little bit, but it's never going to uptick to the point where this is a hugely relevant event, I don't think, on the Indy sports calendar anymore.
It is impossible to state to people who were not around how massive an event it was in 2000.
There was concern, right, that like in the late 90s that it might get to the point where it surpassed the 500,
I don't think
right?
it was concern. I think it legitimately happened in...
It was the perfect storm, right? Because this was the immediate post-split years.
The first 5 years of the split, 95, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, 95 was still huge for the 500, but 96, 7, 8, 9, for sure, man. Massive.
I mean, you had, dentists and stuff like that in the IndyCar field, and then you had NASCAR exploding everywhere with Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon and the real legends of stock car racing.
You're right.
But it's sad, Jake, but long ago I moved on from it. Moved on from pining for what it used to be, and I'm just hoping that they can maximize what it is.
Right.
I think in a perfect world, it'd be a doubleheader weekend with IndyCar, and the Cup cars would be on the oval, and the Xfinity cars would either go back to IRP or be on the road course. And I'm fully aware that you can't really do a road course and then an oval.
Right.
And turn the track around that quickly,
Correct.
Right? So it's either all road or all oval. But I get what IMS was trying to do. Ultimately, I think it was a mistake to rip that Xfinity race away from IRP. I think that's...
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that were emotionally attached to that race, and no one cares about the Xfinity cars at IMS. In fact, I'm not one of those racing purists like, Indy is too good for this. But if there is one thing that I feel that way about, it's having the Xfinity cars, particularly on the oval, to me is kind of like, come on, man. It's like having a AAA baseball game at Fenway.
I think one of the things that's tough is having the Xfinity race after the IndyCar race.
Yeah.
Having the IndyCar race as the warm-up for the Xfinity race.
I saw people get up. I'm less focused on that, but I saw other people get upset with that. Yeah. But
By the way,
people are going to get upset no matter what. You got the cancer gone?
Yeah, I do.
Good. Yeah.
Do you want to see the geyser?
So heart's good, no more cancer? No, I do not want to see the open wound on your wrist.
Sure, I'll show
Jake
you.
had a mole dug out, and he's fine. He's going to be just fine.
But it's a little divot.
For his brand new radio show. Yay.
It's a little divot. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, no, I don't want to see the divot in your skin.
Do you want to push it?
No,
you can
I
feel
do
it
not
if
want to push it.
Like if you rolled a marble down my arm, it would go like this.
This is weird because every time I reach out to touch you, you're repulsed, and yet you want me to touch
It's
open sores on
it's like
your
a
body.
pothole.
Okay. That's actually kind of fitting. Time for our Love That Play. 353-2141.
You're the one that got busted in college.
1920 is when the Love brothers didn't start it. They weren't around yet in 1920. They were born in 1973? 74, because you were born in fall of 73, right? No, you were born in fall of 72. Yes, now I have it right.
Mm-hmm.
September 72, Love brothers in the springish of 23.
May 30th,
Okay. See?
73.
I know your friends better than you. You posted a picture of like the 1986 Allisonville highlight team or whatever, and I was like, oh, there's Matt Jacklin. Whoa, this is so cool. I'm like going through the picture and pointing out like all these people that are now somehow like part of my life weirdly just from knowing you as long as
Who
I have.
else did you recognize in the photo?
Just too many of them, honestly. While we're on the racing topic, Scott Dixon making history, kind of a cool thing, not only to win, but also to do it on the same day that he broke Tony Kanaan's career Indy starts record. 319, was that the number? 318?
That's right.
But
54 career wins.
we never appreciate things as they're happening enough. But the fact that Scott Dixon has won an IndyCar race in
Every sixth time he's made a start, he's won a race. That's crazy.
19 consecutive years, it's just insane. He's also second in the point standings. This will be the 17th time in 18 years that he'll finish in the top 5 of the driver standings, barring something unforeseen here. And of course, he's a 6-time points champion as it is. He's incredible. If you're just taking the IndyCar era, so 96 on, unquestionably, he's the best driver to do it in that span. And he's truly one of the great open-wheel drivers of all time.
He's like Tom Brady in this regard. And I know people are like, oh, I'm so tired of the Tom Brady comparisons for every great athlete. But Tom Brady, one of the things about Tom Brady I think that made him great was as in times when to win, Tom Brady's teams didn't necessarily need Tom Brady to be heroic. He understood when it was go time for him and when it was sit back time. And Scott Dixon's the same way. Like, Dixon is the master at knowing when to go and when to, like, hey, my car's not a winning car today, so I'm going to be really clean and bring it home fourth. Mm-hmm. Really good at that.
It's almost like Tony Gwynn, his approach to racing, right? Where it's like scientific for him.
I love Tony Gwynn.
He just finds a way to get it
love
done.
Tony Gwynn.
I'm not big on the Iceman nickname, but congrats to the Iceman.
Why are you not big on that?
Not my favorite.
Okay.
The Iceman, and I will never call Peyton Manning the Sheriff.
Why?
Unless I'm doing it to mock other people.
Okay.
Peyton Manning's Peyton Manning. LeBron doesn't need a nickname.
That's fair.
Right? And you might say, well, Michael Jordan, Air Jordan. Yeah, I guess so.
MJ. I would say, you think more people call Jordan MJ or Air?
Oh, MJ. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but Air, at least people are aware of. When we come back on the show, Jake has some news in his life. Apparently,
if Michael Jordan is on the
him.
interstate and there's construction and everything's slowing down and he's standing on the outside of the interstate, do you know what that would be? Err on the side of caution.
We come back. Somebody believes in that. Somebody believes in that enough for that to carry a show by himself. So we'll talk about it. We come back. Keady and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hi, how are you? My name is Jake Query. That's Derek Schultz. And this time I'm trying to be more enthusiastic and optimistic when I take it out of break because Derek said I wasn't so much so the first time around. But this is Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. How's that?
So Jake is the is going to be, this is the last week of Kevin and Query because Jake's going to have a new midday show, 12 to 3. What is it, Query and the Funky Bunch or whatever it is? What's the title that they did?
That's exactly right.
Query and the Funky Bunch from 12 to 3. But it's really going to be you flying solo. But in all seriousness, congratulations.
Thank you.
I know in a way it's got to be difficult because you and Kevin invested a lot into Kevin and Query, and people obviously were watching and listening to that show, and it was popular. Like, people would stop me and talk to me about it. Like, you know, I'm really enjoying Jake in the mornings and all of that. And I don't know, maybe they were just being nice.
I'll bet you loved hearing that.
I did. I love hearing about you. I love getting stopped in Indianapolis, and the first thing somebody asked me about is Jake out of the track this weekend? I don't know, man. Do you want his phone number? Here, call him. I'm not Jake. Hi, what can I do for you? You know, like, I don't care. I don't keep his daily planner anymore. Okay, those days are over.
This happened to you a lot, doesn't
yes.
it? You seem
yes.
It seems like
it's
angry,
exhausting.
Angry bits of frustration.
Guys, the radio show ended like 4 years ago. Like, leave me alone. You know?
I've never seen this out of you.
Yeah.
I didn't know this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Does it lead to problems at home? Like when you go out to dinner, does it happen?
No, I'm trying to keep it, out of the house and away from Ashley. Are you nervous at all about, because you've only ever had, right, Terry, and then me, and then Kevin, right?
Well, I mean,
I know that you've done solo hosting when I've been out or whatever. It's not like you're completely inexperienced with going for yourself, but like a full-time Monday through Friday daily show without a real full-time co-host with you.
2012 to like 21?
No, kidding aside, we're being serious. This is like pretend
here's
like
the
you're
thing.
on Meet the Press and I'm or Gary Dick show and I'm interviewing you about Query and Friends.
Okay,
Query and Company. That's what it is.
So I don't believe, and I'm appreciative of and grateful for the fact that people saw this as like a reason for congratulations. I don't know that I see it that way, Derek. Here's the reality. I was hired by the Fan. I'm trying to think of the timeline. Just under 2 years ago, to co-host with Kevin Bowen, who was the incumbent. He was already there, and they were looking for a co-host. And I went through the process and ended up, thankfully, getting that job. And I was very grateful for it because I knew when we were out of a job, other than this, and I've really enjoyed doing this, but in terms of full-time, insurance, employment, I hadn't done anything in 22 months at the time that I was hired by the Fan. And, I do kind of believe in like loyalty, and I'm like, look, you guys bailed me out here, so, I'm here, right? Obviously, there was a personnel change that took place, and that left a void in the 12 to 3 time slot. And I think they went through the process of filling that and had something in mind, and just, the way business in the world works, some things couldn't get worked out. And then about a month ago, my boss came to me and said, hey, I got a question for you. And I said, okay. And he said, what do you think about doing the midday show? Because there's somebody that we're interested in, but I think they'd be better being paired with someone who has some stability in the market to help them get some generation in the market, because people don't know necessarily who the person is because
they
they're
can't
coming
take
from out
the
of town.
midday show, right?
So
the new person is what you're saying.
Well, so Andy Sweeney was hired, who's done a great job and been a long-time mainstay in Louisville, but it's going to take a while for people in Indianapolis to get to know who he is.
Sure.
So I think they felt better about pairing him with someone, and due to just scheduling and other such things, Kevin was not going to be able to go to the midday. So they were like, so we would put him with Kevin in the morning and then move you to the midday. And I don't think they have a problem with me being open about the fact that I seemingly had that right of refusal. I was asked, not told. Mm-hmm. And I said, look, I work for the radio station. I don't work for any one show. I work for the radio station. And whatever you think is the best for the radio station, so be it. And then I thought more about it. He said, well, give it some thought. And I have enjoyed, Derek, legitimately enjoyed, first off, working with Kevin and Mark's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun together. I have enjoyed being off work by the late morning. It's great. And I have not had a problem getting up early in the morning. But admittedly, I'm tired a lot. I mean, you get up early and, look, there are a lot of people that work very hard that have legitimate jobs that are very time-consuming, and I tip my cap to all of them, and I know we have, relatively speaking, pretty easy jobs and lifestyles. The only thing I would say about that, though, is when you do a radio show in the morning and you're on at 7, you're not just on at 7. You're on.
Yeah.
So you got to be, boom, like, let's go. Like, I'm awake, I'm alert. So in 3 hours of that, it's not hard work. It's not manual labor, but your brain is going constantly, and when you get done, it's like a sugar crash. And so to be able to do that later in the day was invigorating to me. Now, I don't think it's a solo show. I think they are still actively looking for who that co-host is going to be. And we have a lot of very talented people that have been in and out of the station in various capacities and roles that I think will fill in and rotate through as, we'll do Wednesdays with this person, Thursdays with that person. That's, as I understand it, that's the game plan until a permanent co-host is found. But for right now, I will be the only one who has a permanent seat on that show.
So, like, your buddy Stephen Holder and you will do like an hour together.
Correct. I would say that's fair.
On Wednesdays or something
I would say that's fair, yeah.
And your best friend Derek Schultz will do an hour with you, maybe. Because that's the other thing that people
I would say that's foul.
People were asking about that.
We do an hour every week right here on the ISC Sports Network.
And this is the first time I'm divulging. I'm not going to divulge everything that you said to me when you had just recovered from your heart attack or just had your heart attack, but I'll divulge this.
They gave me no medication, so I don't believe this to be correct.
You had mentioned the word, I'll just say this, the word need was used. Need. Like you need.
Oh, I remember I said I need you to
life.
bring me a Coke.
Need me in your life. So if you need me to help you along, unlike you, I have experience being a solo host. Rake Straw knows this. I did it for 2.5 years at 950. Thousands of people listen to that show. Mm-hmm. And so if you need me to help you along, I am more than happy to do that.
You do it every week right here on the ISC Sports Network.
But if you need me to do it on the radio show too, I can.
Okay. Well,
but a lot of people are asking because obviously
let them know.
This set off, just a huge discussion about, oh my God, is it going to be Query and Schultz all over again? Because naturally, people can't really separate Jake from.
I mean, it is kind of like, are the Gallagher brothers going to reunite? Yeah, I mean,
No, it was all people saying congrats,
Yoko
Jake.
Ono out of the way?
But there were some people that were like, hey, I wish they'd hire Schultz and all that.
You're right.
And
I did see a lot of that.
To what I'd say to that, and I just, I am very much enjoying life after the fact. When we got let go, you and I very much differed in how we kind of mentally handled that. You had been through it before. I had not.
I get
so
that.
In my mind, COVID was happening, all that. I was like, my career is over. I need to find something else to do. And so once you make that shift, it's just kind of difficult to shift back.
I get it. I mean, there is no doubt, Derek.
And I love my job at Purdue, too. And getting to do all this and all of this on the side, it feels like an ultimate have my cake and eat it, too sort of situation.
There, radio and television, too, but radio in general, sports media is a wonderful career to have and profession for the following reasons. You get to have fun. You get to basically make a living by what other people consider to be their entertainment. And you have flexibility in your hours for the most part. You're not working a typical 40-hour week. The drawback of that is it is incredibly unstable, and you legitimately plan for each year to be that only year that you're going to be in that particular position because you have no idea. Mm-hmm. And I totally understand and respect the fact that, especially with you with a young family, that is a huge, huge stumbling block to get past. No doubt about it. I totally get that. Mm-hmm. The one positive for you in accepting that unstable, hectic nature is working with me.
Well, I didn't tell you this, but the original call for the Ant Company was it was going to be Schultz and Company. And then I said, hey, thank you. I'm actually just really happy with my job right now at Purdue. So why don't you Why don't you ask Jake to? Actually, I said, why don't you ask Kevin to do it? Because I had a little more faith in Kevin going solo. And then they ultimately decided on Jake. So that's actually the true story behind it. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Do we hug now or
no?
High five?
No. It's
like
this is the 13th year of this?
God, yeah, August of actually, it's funny that you say that. Our show anniversary is tomorrow, 15th.
Is it really?
Yeah. August 14th is today. August 15th of 2011 was the debut show of Keady and Schultz, so that was 12 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're about to enter year 13.
You know what I say on the resume? All you need is that one day. 13.
That was the best thing about getting laid off in January. Or it had the nice
right.
2020, and then people were like, oh, you got laid off because of COVID? Yeah, we got laid off because of COVID. That's right, pal.
Our
Let's
company,
go ahead
our
and roll
company
with
was
that.
a bunch of visionaries. They knew it.
I was sneezing all over the
That's
place. We'll come back, wrap up the show next. Quick hits, Bide or Bowl Bleep, and a shout-out to the greatest yearly party in Midtown when we return. Keady and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Back for a final time, it's Keady and Schultz alongside a half-eaten sandwich and an empty chair. I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us. Whether you're following along on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, or just the ISC app or ISCSportsNetwork.com, or listening via podcast, we thank you for joining us on the show today. A couple of quick hits here as we wrap up, and once Jake returns from his pee break, we will talk about this as well. The Big Ten is reportedly talking with Las Vegas about hosting the football title game there. This report randomly came from a Des Moines sports radio station, let me make sure I get that right, KXNO, and I don't know why they were in Vegas. They were in Vegas doing the show on a remote, and they said not a permanent thing, but a twice every 5 years thing, and that the deal is coming together quickly. Big Ten currently has 2 more years left on its deal with Indy, so that would run this year, December of 23, and then December of 24 before they'd be on the open market again. And obviously, Indianapolis has hosted the event every single year since the Big Ten title game's inception. But a lot of people mad about it. I think it would be great to have it in Vegas. You got 4 teams out west now. You got to start thinking about that.
I mean, you're right.
You know, the days of geography and all of that are over. And you think a bunch of Iowa fans wouldn't love to load up and go to Vegas? Come on, man. Wisconsin fans, they would love that. I also heard, for whatever it's worth, the IU-Arizona game last year, I heard was awesome from IU fans that I know that went.
That was in Vegas, right?
Yeah, and I had a buddy that went to the Notre Dame-BYU game in Vegas, and he said it was the best live game experience I've ever had. Stadium was incredible. The atmosphere was awesome. I loved it.
I mean, Vegas
would love for them to be back in
America's
Vegas.
playground, right?
So why not? Better than D.C. in the basketball tournament. You know, and if you put this in Santa Clara or something like that, or Seattle, it'd be very difficult to get to, whereas Vegas is not difficult. Wherever you are in the country, you can fly direct.
I mean, for years, Derek, the Big Ten champion played the Pac-12 champion in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. So who cares? Yeah. Not a big deal.
But it'd be nice to keep it here.
Tyrese Halliburton representing Team USA well. He had 12 assists and led the Americans in assists for the second time in 3 games in Sunday's 98-88 win over Spain. Hallie averaging 7 points, 10 dishes, and 4 rebounds per game so far. Team USA going to Dubai. They're going to take on Greece and Germany next weekend for their final 2 tune-ups before the World Cup in the Philippines.
Did you say
Hallie? Yeah. That's his nickname. Like, I refer to him more as Hallie than anything else.
Hallie Bryant?
No, like Hallie, just for short. Tyrese Halliburton's kind of a mouthful, so Hallie.
Just Halliburton?
Well, it's like when you think of the Pacers stars, PG, Depot, Hallie. That's the natural progression of it all.
No one said Depot, first off.
I only used the term Depot for a while.
How about Steepo?
No, he wasn't good enough to get a nickname. Wasn't good enough. Flory Badunga picks Kansas.
How about that, Rock Chalk?
One of the highest-rated players to come through Indiana in quite a while. In fact, I think you have to go back to Romeo Langford the last time you had a top 10 player, right?
Let me tell you why that stunned me. Here's why it surprised me. I talked with Greg Rakestraw about this on the radio. And there had to have been somebody that afterwards was like, we need to revisit this. And Greg can correct me if I'm wrong here. He was at a televised, showcase game that was, the title sponsor was Under Armour. So it was an Under Armour event.
The only Adidas school on his list was Kansas, right?
Well, he had 4 schools, 4 different shoes.
Yeah.
Michigan is Jordan Brand, which I know is a subsidiary of Nike. Auburn is Under Armour. Kansas is Nike, and Duke. Kansas is Adidas, and Duke is Nike. So you would think that the Under Armour folks would say, hey, listen, it's great during our showcase event that we're going to have these kids at halftime doing the cap dance, but we need to make sure that it is kids that have only Under Armour schools on their list, UCLA and Auburn and whatever else. It could not have been for them a thrill to see a kid sit up there with an Under Armour jersey on at an Under Armour event and say, I'm going to it. And that's what, folks, don't kid yourself. In today's day and world, to a college prospect, it's not Kansas, it's Adidas. It's not Duke, it's Nike. I mean, that's a huge thing.
Did they not assume that he was picking Auburn? Because I always thought, from what I heard, and not that I followed it super closely, but closely enough, I tracked it at least, it was like Duke was the favorite throughout, and then suddenly it was like, oh, he's going to go to Auburn now.
Yeah, because Bruce Pearl was apparently all over the place.
And so, I guess you should never be surprised. It's freaking Kansas, right? Kansas plays in this playground all the time, but good for Flory. He averaged over 20 points, 13 boards a game, led Kokomo to the 4A state finals, and Indiana Gatorade Player of the Year.
Super good. I mean, super nice kid by all accounts.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good kid.
Hope he has more success at Kansas than this
Quick
guy.
Sausage Fest shout out. So Sausage Fest is this weekend, Friday, Saturday, St. Thomas Aquinas, 46 in Illinois. I'm emceeing both nights. And Saturday night can get a little bit saucy if you stay late night. Saturday night at Sausage Fest after dark. Get a little bit saucy. So it's for a great cause. It's a great parish. We're not parishioners there. I'm not even Catholic. But we love St. Thomas and the community there, and it's right in the neighborhood. And it's
this is where?
Midtown's greatest party. Midtown, 46 in Illinois.
Okay, that's
more right in Midtown. Oh, sorry. Butler Tarkington. It's Midtown. People know exactly. It's Sausage Fest. Everybody knows where Sausage Fest is. Time to get to our Buy It or Bull Bleep. Everybody knows about Chateau Kitchens by now.
That part is true.
They're the best in the business. ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook for before and after pictures. Anything on the interior of your home, whether it be bathrooms, basements, or kitchens, Chateau Kitchens will take care of you just like they have taken care of me. We've had them over there for 3 projects, and all 3 have been amazing. Here we go, Jake. Statement 1, Anthony Richardson should take every preseason snap. Buy It or Bull Bleep.
No, that's bull, Schultz. Not every.
What?
Well, you want to keep him healthy.
No, every snap. Take them all. Take them all. Even against the 4s. I want to see him do crazy highlight reel stuff against a guy that's going to be at Home Depot in a couple of weeks. That's what I want to see. Totally buy it. Cal and Stanford won't ever be admitted to the ACC. Buy it or Bull Bleep?
Buy it.
Are the schools just, I haven't really looked, are the schools just not wanting to do that because they don't want to eat into their share? Because the ACC is already at a shortfall compared to the Big Ten and SEC.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was. Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and somebody else that voted against it.
Yeah.
Might have been Virginia, maybe.
Yeah. NC State, somebody.
I think Cal and Stanford are going to end up in the Big Ten.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's a chance that they might end up in a league with the Olympic sports only. I don't know where that would be and have to go independent. Stanford would probably be able to do that more than Cal. Finally, IndyCar and NASCAR should remain together for the August Indy weekend. You already know how I feel about this. Yeah. I know it's not going to happen, but
I would rather see IndyCar go to Milwaukee.
Ideally, I would like it to stay together because I think it would help for the health of the Indy event, but I get that it's not going to happen. Thanks to our great sponsors, Chili Water Brewing Company, Hoagies and Hops, Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Who else do we have in here? Love Heating and Cooling.
Chateau Kitchens.
Chateau Kitchens, of course. How could I forget all
Bailey
of that?
and Wood.
And Sausage Fest, 46 in Illinois, Midtown, biggest part of the year. If you see me there, you can't miss me. I'll be up on stage. Come up and say hi, and we'll high five. Do not ask me about Jake.
Derek is the Vienna sausage of the event, by the way.
Are those the little canned wieners?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I've never had one of those. I've never had Spam either. Did you know that? Yeah.
Really?
Okay, now we're going to go. Sorry, Greg's giving me the wrap-up sign while we're talking about canned meat. We'll see you later
Go figure.
here on the ISC Sports Network.